everyone, I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to the Melissa M.A.D.E Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello, and welcome to the Melissa M.A.D.E Show. Now, I'm going to go, a little off topic today, but not really, because whenever I do one of those bubbles on my Instagram, ask me anything, or is there any way that I can serve you, without fail, I always get a few people asking me for parenting advice. And I am very, very humbled and flattered by that, because of course I'm biased, but I think I have some pretty amazing kids, pretty amazing kids. Now, if you don't know of them, or you don't by chance follow them, Tanner McAllister is our son. He is 27 years old. My goodness. And he is a business owner. He owns a motorcycle shop called Hellbound Racing. So if you need anything motorcycle, motocross related, he's your guy. And then I have a daughter who is almost 26 years old. She'll be 26 in a couple of weeks. And she is a fellow nutritionist. And she's also now a signed model. Wow. They're both very accomplished, good humans, would do anything for anyone at the drop of a hat. Well-mannered. Again, I'm biased, but they're good kids. So I thought that I would give you 13 quick tips on how to try to be the best parent that you can be. And I do want to tell you, oh man, I made plenty of mistakes. And as I go through these 13, I'll probably be able to share with you a few of them, because I was well below perfect when it came to parenting, but I did my best. And I think some of the things that I did, and then some of the things I learned from my own mother have really helped me raise good kids. So what do you say? Let's get started. So I have my list over here. The first one is advice, not really advice, but what my mom would always tell me when I was growing up. And I'm telling you, it's sunk in. And I might have this as number one because it might be the most important one. So if you're short on time, listen to this one and then get along your merry way, because I think it's the best one possibly. But it is, you can't make your children love you, but you can make them respect you. So my mom would say to me all the time, I can't make you love me, but I can make you respect me. How important is that? Especially in today's day and age, we need to make sure that our children first and foremost respect us, and they need to respect everyone, but especially their parent. You cannot make them love you, but you absolutely can make them respect you. And how do you get them to respect you? Possibly by the other 12 tips that I'm about to give you, take you right back up to number one, where respect is the most important thing that you can teach your children, especially when it comes to respecting you. All right. So number two is mean what you say. Don't ever be full of empty promises. Don't be that parent that punishes their children and then takes something away and then, changes their mind right away, because that goes back to respect. You have to mean what you say. And even if it, maybe you're a little bit angry and it's a little bit harsh, still stick to it, or sit down with that child and explain. If you are going to lighten it, explain it. Just don't lighten the load. Tell them why, that, let them know that it's okay. Mommy or daddy got, was a little bit upset and may have given you too harsh of a punishment. So we're going to pull back a little bit on it, but give them a good reason why, and just don't do it without them knowing why behind it, because they have to understand that when you say something, you mean what you say. The third one is you can be their parent and their friend, but you need to know when to be what. Okay, so I say that because I feel like I am one of my kids' best friends, but I also am their parent. So Mick and I have always made an effort to definitely uh, give them a good time. We are the fun bee. We are the parents that from day one always did the really cool things, and they legitimately enjoy hanging out with us. But make no mistake, we are also parents when we need to be. If we notice when they were younger, or even now as adults, if they are making a mistake or doing something that isn't good for their character by any means, we are the first people to stand up and say, we love you, but this is wrong, or you should not be doing this, or you should change this, because that's part of parenting. So it's okay to be their friend, but you also need to be their parent, and you have to know when to be what. Okay. You can't always be their friend, and you shouldn't always be their parent. There's sometimes you should just be their friend and then parent when you need to. Okay. The next one is punishments need to stick. Now, I already kind of touched on that, but it teaches children to not really respect even law. If you are setting the law, a punishment that is deserved, but you just, you love your kid and you hate that you told them they had to hang in their room for 3 days. If the punishment is deserving, you have to stick to it. Okay. Don't pull it back because you feel bad, or because you love them, or because they're convincing you that they're sorry. Stick to the punishment, because when you stick to the punishment, they will think harder the next time they do something that warrants a punishment, because they know the ramifications are going to be bad. If they're not, and if you're the kind of parent who always pulls back those punishments, then they're going to, kind of just be like, it's kind of worth it. Being naughty or doing this is kind of worth the half-assed punishment I'm going to get from my parents, because I know they're not going to stick to it. Okay. Next one, don't reward with food or things. Reward with experiences. So Mick and I raised our kids for about 7 years in Hawaii. And when we first got there, didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. But boy, did we make anything that was rewarding an experience. We would go on hikes, we would go on the beach. It was never about taking them out to dinner, or it was never about going to the store and buying them a toy. It was an experience. So think about that. If your child has done something that warrants a reward, take them to a painting class, or a rock concert, something that gives them an experience, and not necessarily just a night out for hamburgers and French fries, or for, maybe just a movie that they can see on TV in a couple of weeks anyway. Make it an experience. Okay. That's how you reward your children. Next one is to encourage them to fail. Oh, that's important. It's hard on parents to watch their children fail, but I have watched my children fail a lot. Tanner did not like group sports, hated them, hated football, hated baseball. He always did individual sports, swimming, motocross, golf, anything that only, was him. But at the same time, when Mick, my husband, would take him motocross, he would push him, and sometimes he would fail, and that would hurt. Or believe it or not, that would break bones. And my daughter was a gymnast, and she would go after things, and I would encourage her, and she would fail. She would literally fall flat on her face, or to try out for a play at school, and they don't make it. Encourage them to fail. That's where growth happens, and that's where character is built. If a child is never encouraged to fail or encouraged to go after something, they kind of become the adult who is the yes sir or the yes man, and will always have that employee mindset because they're afraid to take risks. So please push them out of their comfort zone and encourage the failure. It's hard to do as a parent, but it is so good for them. All right. Know their love language. So just like adults, just like your spouse, you should know how your children want to be loved. There are some kids that want to be cuddled and kissed on and snuggled. And, and there are some kids who are like, and instead they just want words of affirmation. They want you to tell them, gosh, you did a really good job, in the yard today. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's beautiful. Where the other one doesn't really care what you say. They just want to be hugged. So know your child's love language. And there are like 5, I won't go into them, but if you've never heard of love languages, look them up because for anybody, even if you own a business and you mentor people, to know their love language really helps you speak to that person on a more personal level, and they receive your love so much more because you're doing it in a way that they're comfortable with. All right. Weight gain. It can be so hard to avoid, especially when we're binge watching our favorite shows and getting invited to party after party. And it's frustrating when we're working really hard and everything seems to be going right, but yet that scale keeps creeping up and up. But I recently learned a really interesting fact about how weight gain works and the super simple ways that we can control it. So I was chatting with Tina Anderson. Now, she's the founder of Just Thrive Probiotics, and you definitely want to check out the podcast that we did together. It's really good. She told me that when it comes to fat burning, you and I are basically at the mercy of 2 specific hunger hormones. Now, stay with me. I promise this won't get too sciencey. Now, these hormones, which are controlled by your gut, are responsible for switching off your fat storing and switching on your fat burning. Interesting, right? So when your gut can properly parent these hormones, your body literally absorbs less fat from the food you eat and burns the excess fat that you have. Yes, please and thank you. But thanks to our modern toxic world, it's way too easy for these hormones to misbehave and to kind of run amok. So when this happens, we end up choosing foods that we know are bad for us. We're eating more foods, even when we're not hungry. And we're making bad food choices because we think that it just might possibly boost our down mood. Now, that's why it is so important to support the health of your gut so that you get these hormones under control. Now, thanks to Tina, my go-to gut support is Just Thrive Probiotic. If you've been following me, you know I'm obsessed with gut health. Up to 80% of your immune system lives in your gut. So a healthy gut is truly the master key to staying resilient and feeling your best. And with Just Thrive Probiotic, I feel confident that I'm giving my body what it needs to stay strong and balance my hunger hormones so I can avoid unwanted pounds. I trust Just Thrive because their probiotic has more clinical research than anything else out there. You hear that? I love that it's vegan, it's non-GMO, it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, and free from anything artificial. And it's even safe for kids. You can literally break open the capsule and sprinkle it onto any food or drink because Just Thrive strains are so resilient. They are all natural and do not even come alive until they get into your intestines. Now, seriously, I can mix it into smoothies or bake it into any recipe without losing the potency. Now, as a bonus, Just Thrive Probiotic can even support beautiful skin, better sleep, and a brighter mood. Just Thrive is my secret weapon for weight management. And right now, you can save 15% off their award-winning probiotic when you go to justthrivehealth.com and use the promo code MelissaMade at checkout. Next one, show. Don't tell them how to treat others, right? So here too often, I notice it. My son always notices it as well. Teenage boys don't open the doors for women anymore. It's a lost art, to say the least. You just don't see it that often anymore. My son always looks at me and he goes, "If that was my kid, I'd, whop him across the head." Because Tanner knows better. And he knows better because he was shown by his dad how to, not even just women, but to open the door for any and everybody. Show that person the respect, take the time out for them, give them a smile, do something nice for a stranger. And so Tanner, because he watched dad do that, learned to do that. We never sat him down and said, you need to keep the door open for anybody that's coming up behind you. He just learned it because he was shown. So even if somebody treats you disrespectfully, say at a grocery store or a clothing store or something, and your kids are around, they're going to remember how you treated that person. So show them how to treat the person respectfully. Try not to lose your cool because they will remember that. And that might be how they react in the future because of that, right? How are we doing? They eat what you eat, no exceptions. Okay, so being in the nutrition space, this is a big one. I have so many people that message me and say, I just can't get my kid to eat healthy. And I'm sorry, this might sound a little harsh, but you are the boss. You are the parent. You buy the food. If they're not going to eat what you're going to eat, unless it's an allergy or it literally makes them gag. If it's just, I don't want to eat the broccoli. I just want to eat the macaroni and cheese. Too bad. Too bad. There is a fine line between forcing them so that they really have, almost an eating disorder when they get older because they hate it so bad. But then there's also there's no exception. I'm cooking for the family and we're going to sit down and we're going to eat together. But I highly encourage you to, number one, have fun with the food. When I was little, of course, and I'm sure you did this as well, is, my son would eat dinosaur trees or miniature trees, instead of broccoli. We would make them fun. They would help me cook. They would help me grocery shop and help me pick out the food. And there's nothing wrong with, if you really want them to have broccoli because it's so good for them, to sprinkle a little bit of cheese on it, right? Or to put some butter on it. That's great. But they're still eating the broccoli. So there's lots of ways to get it done, but please stop making separate meals for your kids, especially unhealthy meals for your kids, just because they don't think they like the vegetables or they don't think they like the fish. Play with it, involve them, make it known that this is your food. This is what nourishes your body. This is what you get. Or you know what? We're just not going to eat tonight, because they don't need the junk food. They need your healthy food. And I firmly believe that this is one place that you're stern about when it comes to doing something as a family. And please sit down at the table and eat together, put phones away, enjoy each other's company. Those memories last a lifetime as well, and create good eating habits as well. But don't make separate stuff, especially junky food. And if it doesn't make them ill or they don't have an allergic reaction to it, involve them and get them to enjoy the food that the rest of the family is eating. Okay. Even if it's just a couple of bites. Next one, skip the TVs in the bedrooms and the cars. So, like I said, the kids were real little when we lived in Hawaii, and we would fly from Hawaii all the way to Washington. That was a long flight. And you guys, back then, there were no DVD players. There were no iPads. I actually had to color with my kids, read my kid books for hours on end. And Tanner doesn't sleep. Still to this day, he just doesn't sleep. So he'd be up the whole flight and I'd have to entertain him the whole flight. I never had cars that had TVs in them. I never let them have TVs in their bedroom. I just wouldn't. And I wouldn't today either. I really think kids miss out on so much. What is wrong with looking out the window when you're driving? Let them just look at the scenery and the people and the animals and the different cars, and to actually have a conversation with other people in the car during the trip, no matter how short or how long it is, instead of having them once again looking at a screen. Same thing, they'll retreat to their bedroom and do nothing but watch that screen. Even if there's a million toys in their room that can help with their imagination, they're going to watch the TV. Or when they have the opportunity to go outside and play, they're going to want to be inside and watch the TV. So I just, even if grandchildren, knock on wood someday, bless me, they're not going to have, these grandchildren are not going to have, I won't have TVs in my car and they won't have TVs in their room. I think that's really robbing them of their childhood by having these screens in front of them all the time. All right. Sit down and eat together, phone free as often as you can. I touched on that as well, but we're in a society where we're learning to multitask, and we always multitask when we eat. So you can be watching TV when you eat, you could be driving, you could be working, you could even be playing a board game. And that's fine and good, except for the fact that it teaches the kids not to listen to the cues of when they're actually full, to actually chew the food thoroughly and to take their time and to enjoy the meal. it becomes something that's not even thought of, and it really needs to be. That's why we have such digestive issues. We eat too fast, we eat too much. So if you can sit down with your family and just have a great conversation, even for 15 minutes, whether it be for breakfast, lunch, and or dinner, and create those memories and have those great conversations, you're really teaching them that food is a time to put everything else aside and just to enjoy the meal and the company. And then when that's all done, they can go back to playing the game or watching the TV or doing work if that's what they need to do, schoolwork, but never encourage them to multitask and to eat and to do something else. Okay. And the last one is to love them hard, especially when they're acting out. So there's often times that I'm with my kids in a grocery store or something, and a kid will be throwing an absolute fit. And they'll look at me and they're like, were we ever like that? And I'm like, no, no, you weren't. I would not allow that. But it's difficult to not, when they lash out or they're being very disrespectful, to not get angry and to be disrespectful back. But believe it or not, that is the time to take a deep breath and to be as calm as you can and to love on them as much as you can. And in the moment, it's going to seem like it's making it worse. But I promise you, when they get to the point that they can calm down, I don't care if they're 3 years old. I don't care if they're 13. I don't care if they're 33. There's going to come a point when they're able to just kind of reflect and be like, oh, I love that person. They care so much about me, because they will remember how you tried to just be there for them, console them, be the voice of reason instead of getting angry back, because that's will only fuel the fire. So all 13 of those. And I'm going to go right back up to the beginning to say, of all those things that I said, I would love to know which one hits home with you the most out of those 13. But I also want to remind you, and maybe you can steal it as your mantra. My mom's name is Diana. We can call it Diana's mantra, but I can make you love me, but I can make you respect me. And I think that's the best advice that any parent can be given, whether they're new or they're coming into those teenage years. It's hard. And sometimes it feels incredibly thankless, but I'm here to tell you that now that my kids are adults, I know that they appreciated the way that they were raised. And I know that they're happy to have me as their mom. Sometimes when they were younger, I wondered, but today I'm sure, because they tell me. And the same thing happened to me. It took me into the age of about 26 years old for me to just finally be like, whoa, man, I had a good mom. She was amazing. And I'm telling you, she was amazing. You guys know me with my millions of surgeries and birth defects. And she went through some tough stuff. And she pulled through and was just the best mom. But it took me to the age of 26 to realize that. So if you are dealing with teenagers right now, you don't feel like they love you right now. They do. And there's going to come a day that they're going to come to you and give you that big old hug and say, thank you. You were the best mom or dad. So anyway, there you have it. Just a little tip on parenting. I'm still parenting, still love them to death. Still want to wring their little necks every once in a while, but they are good kids. And I'm very, very proud that they call me mom. And remember that M.A.D.E stands for making a difference every day. And I want you to wake up feeling prepared, and I want you to go to bed feeling proud. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.